This is a video I've wanted to make for quite some time. This is a preparation video on going to a lake you've never been to for a tournament, and you need to find those fish that are going to help you win. And if you don't have the experience of the other people you're competing against, whether it's on that lake or in general the time they've been bass fishing, then you have to make up for that somehow. I need to close that gap between me and them through any means necessary. All right, step one, pull up Google Earth Pro, find your lake, and the initial thing you want to do is figure out, is this image a good representation of what the lake looks like now? All right, so you can see this image is from November 2024, and the two things I'm interested in are water level and vegetation. So November 2024, you can just Google lake level for whatever lake it is. Usually there's some government sites that'll show you. So this is current. We just had a bunch of rain down there, so it came up about 1.5 feet. But you can see this lake level has been the same all the way back to there's November 2024. It was a little bit lower, maybe 2 feet. So it's very close. Now I know that on Google Earth Pro, right here, this is a fairly accurate representation. This lake, if I go back to 2019, you can see it's flooded out. Earlier in 2024, super low, and this is where we stand today still. So about 1.5 feet, 2 feet higher than what we're looking at right here is what the lake really is. And then vegetation also, there's not much, but if I go back to May of 2019, you can see things are a little bit greener, and although it's flooded, we do have some greener vegetation here in the water. So I'm expecting, since it's May now, when I show up, there'll be some green on or near the banks, but you can see the water's fairly low, so mostly rocky stuff that I'm going to be fishing. So I got a good look at the lake of what it's going to look like when I show up there. Water clarity, we'll figure that out when we show up. We just got a bunch of rain. I'm expecting it to be somewhat similar to this, hopefully a little bit clearer. Now, step two in this is backdating this to a time when it was very, very low, so I can start putting waypoints in the spots that I want to fish, right? So if I backdate this, all this terrain is out of the water, and I can put waypoints on it, and that's exactly what I did. I go a little overboard. I enjoy this process. So here's the waypoints that I put on for Santa Rosa. Now I'm not just marking where I think they're going to be, and we'll talk about that in a second, but in general I think they're going to be back in the pockets. I'm marking everything in case that plan changes. And then as we get up into here, we start getting a bunch of trees. So I marked trees that are close to the channel that I want to run, and starting getting into a bunch of them here, and then almost a forest up here at the upper end of the lake. So when I start out pre-fishing, I'm coming up here. I'm going as far up the lake, up into the river as possible to try to get away from other people and find something that less people are likely to find. The primary reason I check the weather is because 96% of you aren't subbed to the channel, and that hurts pretty bad. The second reason I check the weather is you need to stay on top of it from the first time that 10-day forecast hits, and you can check it. Every day I'm checking it again to see if that changes or stays the same, and this has changed quite a bit. What we're at right now for the weather for next week down there is highs in the 80s or close to 80, partly cloudy, blowing about 20 on Saturday, and then blowing about 23 on Sunday. Both winds are out of the west, but Sunday is going to gust up to 30 miles an hour. So not only am I, making sure I'm going prepared clothing-wise, sunscreen-wise, all that good stuff, the main reason I'm looking is what part of this lake with westerly winds that are blowing pretty hard are going to be affected and not affected, protected and wide open. Where are those big waves going to be? Where are those coves going to be that stuff is getting blown into, bait and whatnot? And then I'm with my Google Earth waypoints, I'm starting to narrow that down based on the weather on where I think is going to be a high percentage area. The other part of what I consider weather is the moon, right? We are almost to a full moon. Given the water temperature of the lake, another thing, just kind of local conditions, that water's probably going to be topping 60 when we get down there in a week. And we're just coming off of a full moon. Those fish are going to be in the backs, right? They're probably going to start spawning earlier up the lake, and that's where I'm going first to check. I appreciate y'all sticking around for this video. The next video is going to come out soon on the setups that I chose, how I think I'm going to catch the fish, right? So we're going to put that on paper, so to speak, on YouTube. And after pre-fishing, I'll give you an update on how right I was, how wrong I was, what the fish are doing as opposed to what I thought they were doing. Hopefully I was right and they're doing the same thing in the same places. So aside from that, again, we're almost to 1,000 subs, and that blows my mind. So I appreciate all the interest. I hope these are helping you. I do this to try to help anybody who needs it or wants it, or just give you a different perspective on how I go about tournament fishing as opposed to how you do or anybody else. So I learned how to fish mostly on YouTube. I didn't grow up bass fishing, and as you're watching me, so you've sifted through a lot of the BS, a lot of ads, a lot of people trying to sell you stuff, and I'm just trying to give you narrowed down information that I've learned and something that works. So thanks again, and I'll see you at the next one.